Here's what you're going to get. Today we're going to talk about doing the things you know you are called to do. You know you were designed to do, even when you are scared out of your mind. And we're going to break down the hidden cost of comfort. We're going to talk more about the truth of fear and how to take action that scares you anyway, and how to begin to orient yourself towards discomfort and fear. Like, I want to be afraid. I want to be uncomfortable, and why that is the best thing for you. I'm going to share some personal stories, one from the first time I ever went live on the radio and how absolutely terrified I was. I'm going to share a story about some of my travels around the world and where fear would always show up every time I stepped off the plane into something new, but how that newness and that discomfort completely shifted and changed my life. And by the end of today, you'll have a simple plan for how you can apply courage to your fear immediately, because fear is not the problem. I want to be very clear about that. Fear is not the problem. Comfort is. Comfort is. And you'll be very clear about that by the end of the show. Here's how I want you to think about what we're going to talk about today. Number one, comfort is not neutral. Like, whenever I'm comfortable, and by the way, I'm not saying you can't take a break, right? The Creator rested on the seventh day, but that was after the vision was complete through the action he took the first 6 days. All right. So comfort is not neutral. Comfort is expensive. That's one. Comfort is not neutral. Comfort is expensive. Number two, especially in today's environment where it's so easy to accomplish comfort by checking out. Number two, most people aren't failing because they are incapable. They're failing because they're too comfortable, and their comfort is more persuasive than the dream. That's number two. Okay. Most people aren't failing because they're incapable. Most people are failing because comfort has become so easy and way more persuasive than the dream, than the purpose, than the calling. And then number three, if you keep waiting to feel ready, you'll stay stuck. You'll never, I want you to hear me on this. When you get called to do what it is that you're supposed to do, you will never feel ready. And you'll hear that from me during the show, in terms of, like, I was not ready to be a radio show host, right? I didn't feel ready. And some of you may have heard the first show and say, this guy is not ready. Okay. But if I hadn't, not only would I be stuck, but so many other people. Okay. So today I want to make an assault on comfort, because I believe that comfort is quietly trading your future for temporary relief, like in these spots and moments, the spots and moments when you should be building. One of the things we talked about a couple of weeks ago was like calculating our discretionary time, that free time. How am I using that time? I believe most of us are using it to shroud ourselves in comfort because of what we've gone throughout the day, right? So here's what comfort says, because we got to understand how it talks to us. Comfort will say, you know, you've been working real hard. You don't have to do that today. Relax. You deserve it. Take a moment. And what it's really saying is, do it later. And what that really means is you're procrastinating. That's what it really means. Comfort will also say, you know, the timing's not right. You still have to do this. You still have to do that. You still have to figure out how. You still have to. And by the way, comfort is real good at making sense. It can have an incredibly logical conversation with you. No, just wait a moment. The timing's not right. Maybe this isn't the time. And then comfort will also say, Oh, man. If you move forward with this, if you take action, you're going to get rejected. Or another way, if you move forward with this and you go ahead and you're not ready, you're going to be embarrassed. Or say if you move forward with this and you start working on this because you're not ready, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. And then last but not least, comfort will say, if you take action on this, I'm going to leave. Because you will be uncomfortable and you will experience a discomfort you've never felt. And I think a lot of us, when comfort says, I'll leave you, we're like, no, don't leave. I'll stop. I won't. I'll just take a moment. Stay with me, please. And there's a cost to that. Comfort is incredibly expensive. Part of the cost is the success that most of us so desperately want. Where have you been postponing your future? Where have you been postponing your dream? This week I had the opportunity to go down to St. Louis, work with a company called Copeland. And one of the things that, I was talking about how to advance and elevate your career with many of the leaders there, high performers there. And there was a slide. This is early on in the presentation. And, it's not my first rodeo, so I kind of know how people react to it. And I was kind of talking about, hey, anything that we do, we have to take ownership of. And so if your career is not where you want it to be, it's because, and then the next slide said, because you are your biggest barrier. You should have saw the faces in that room. There was one brother sitting towards the back that looked at me like, I ain't going to like this Negro. I mean, he just looked at me like, what? Man, come on, bro. You don't know my story. You don't know what's going on. You haven't met my leader. Like, we have a lot of, and I'm sharing this because we have a lot of excuses for why we can't be where we need to be. But ultimately, it's up to you. It's up to you. Have you been postponing your own future? Number 2. What have you labeled timing? That's really fear. It's not the right time. It's not the right time. Oh, just give me a little more time. I need to know a little bit more. I can't do this quite yet. Just get present to that. Like where are you having a time conversation with yourself? And if what you're supposed to take action on is connected to your purpose, connected to who it is that you're supposed to be, like the time is now, right? Because you're breathing. The time is now. Number 3, what decision are you avoiding? And it's a go decision, right? It's a yes decision. Go, 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 go. What decision are you avoiding because comfort feels safer? I remember when I left corporate America back in 2015. Man, I kicked that can all year, right? I've been there because it's like it feels comfortable to get a check every 2 weeks, and I know the Creator is telling me it's time to go. And then reinforcing, I am your source. Do you trust me? Have faith. But that is uncomfortable because I feel like I don't have any control. And I didn't have control over that 2-week check, really. But I felt like I did. I had an illusion of control. And so that illusion gave me a sense of comfort. That sense of comfort wasn't real, but it did give me a sense of comfort. And so what decision are you avoiding because comfort feels safer? I'm going to give you an example of, in the best way that I can, of how if I didn't take action, my life would be so completely different. And sometimes it makes me a bit emotional because of how difficult the action was to take, like the leap, how difficult it was to leap. And when I reflect back on my life, the scariest part is not the leap. The scariest part is always, what if I hadn't? Where would I be? Oh, man, that's the scariest part. Like looking into that darkness, like who would I have become if I did not trust, if I didn't have faith? Faith being belief plus action to move, even though I was terribly afraid. 13 years on the radio today. And man, I got to tell you, there's so many things I had to overcome to be here, like right now, this morning with you. The first part was not the radio, but the fear of actually taking action in alignment with my purpose to share this type of a message. The first time I started sharing this type of a message was back in 2010, 2011. And I'm going to tell you when it happened, just to kind of to frame this up for you, because I was incredibly comfortable, man. Incredibly comfortable. So I'm running global operations for a Fortune 500 company. I'm traveling all over the world. When I say traveling all over the world, man, I was all over the Western Hemisphere. You know, 1 week I'm in Costa Rica. The next week I'm in Panama. The next week I'm in Jamaica. By the way, in 2010, I spent most of my time in Jamaica. So when I say comfort, comfortable. And I'm doing it for my work, right? So I'm not even spending my own money. And I can remember I was in El Salvador. And we had done some work in El Salvador. It was, I can't remember, maybe like a Saturday morning. And we were headed to the airport. And we were, the team and we were in this van headed to the airport. And I was sitting on the front row of the van on the right-hand side. I remember it like it was yesterday. And the road we were on, it had like these rocky cliffs off to the right-hand side. And I'm staring off at the cliffs. And all of a sudden I hear this voice saying, "You know it's time to move to what's next." Like, what? What? What do you mean what's next? This is quite nice. I didn't take you through all this and support you with building all this and doing all this for you to keep it to yourself. It's time to share the gifts that I've given you, the perspective that I've given you. And I could hear it, man. I could hear it. I could hear it so clearly. And for a minute, I tried to shake it, and they were having conversations in the van. This voice keeps hitting me. You've been pursuing your purpose. Now it's time to take the next step. And I'm thinking like, well, what does that look like? What does that mean? And I can sense that everything was about to shift. And like I said, I was incredibly comfortable. I mean, I'm traveling all through the Caribbean and Central America and all these wonderful places. And it's like, why would I give this up? And the creator's like, he's speaking to me saying, hey, it's that time for you to start sharing. And I remember we leave El Salvador. I get home. I try to shake the voice. And, some of you all know what I'm talking about because you've been trying to shake the voice, right? Even now, you're kind of mad at me for bringing it up because the voice is starting to speak louder to you. And you're like, oh, man, this guy. But it's not me. Like the voice isn't going anywhere. And when it does leave, you're in trouble. So now I'm back at home. And at the time, I'm single, got my own place, and I'm moving around the house, and this voice won't. I can't shake it. And I say, okay, what do you want me to do? And at the time, blogging was a real big deal. And so I could sense he was like, take the lessons you've learned, the leadership lessons I've given you, the things you've been privileged to learn. I want you to share it. I want you to share it outside of yourself. It's time for you to begin sharing this outside of yourself. And so I took the step I knew how to take. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start sharing it with my team. Right? And by the way, the creator will give us something. He'll say, do this, and then we'll mix it up and say, you meant this, right? And it's not what he meant, and we know it's not what he meant, and he'll let us get away with it for a little time. So I started, writing out a little blurb to my team. I read it out to them every Monday, and I'm like, this is it. Like that felt right. This is good. And then the creator uses my communication manager, comes in my office one Monday after I share the blurb with my team in our staff meeting. And he goes, Linnell, you know you have to turn this into a blog. You ever want to tell somebody, shut your mouth, right? Like, shut your mouth. But I'm staring at this guy like, man, because what will happen is when the creator's speaking to you, then he'll confirm it through somebody else. You know you should turn this into a blog. I said, man, I can't do that. That's a lot. He's like, oh, it's really easy. All you have to do is get on WordPress and just press start. Are you kidding me? He says, well, everybody around here is sharing your message. It's going all through the company and different places, and it's really having an impact. I mean, I think the rest of the world and even people outside of this company should hear some of these stories and hear some of these thoughts. All right, man. So now I'm sitting with this thing. It's 2011. I say, well, and this is, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. This is how I do the creator. I say, well, I don't know what to title it. So if you want me to do a blog, you need to give me a title. You need to tell me what it's supposed to be called. And that's kind of how I played it out, right? And I remember after saying that, a few days later, I wake up out of my sleep like 4 o'clock in the morning. Inspirational Perspective. You call it Inspirational Perspective. In fact, you need to go and buy the domain right now. And I said, oh, that domain's gone. I'm having a conversation. That domain's gone. Come on now. That's too common. Inspirational Perspective, that domain is gone. That I'm sure that we'll go look. So I get up, I go look, it's wide open. It's wow. Write the first blog right now. When I tell you, I wrote the blog, I left it in the draft. When I tell you that publishing that blog was probably one of the scariest things I had done to that point. And I remember the day I finally worked up the courage to push return and publish it. You would think I ran a marathon, the way I was sweating. But here's the thing. If I fast forward, if I had never published that blog, if I hadn't listened, if I hadn't kept the commitment to blog every Sunday night afterwards, I wouldn't be on the radio right now. There's something that you're being called to do that you're afraid of, that is the first step towards everything else you want. Towards everything else you want. When I tell you I was scared, now some people say, why were you so scared? Because I was an executive. I knew that people within my company, outside my company, were going to read this. I knew that if I typed one word wrong or did one thing, it could shift my reputation. I knew that if a leader or a C-suite member at my company read it and was offended, I could lose my job. I mean, it exposed, wasn't just my thoughts, but exposed who I was. When I pressed enter on that blog, my T-shirt was drenched, man. I mean, I had sweated it out. No different than in 2013, February 21st, 2013, when I did my first radio show. At the end of that show, 60 Minutes Saturday night, my shirt was drenched. Most of the time, when you're doing what you're called to do, it's going to be the toughest work, the hardest work, and it's going to make you sweat. It's going to make you sweat. If it's not making you sweat, it's probably not the work. It's probably not the work. Fear does not mean stop. All fear means is that it matters. Let me be clear about something. My confidence to do the work, to blog, to be on the radio, to leave corporate America, to speak the way I speak, my confidence didn't come first. Taking the action did. This week I put a reel up about how to really step into a new level of confidence. I want to be very clear. My confidence did not come first. Taking the action I was scared to take did. And then my confidence came behind that. Fear is predictable. Courage is a decision. Action is the cure. Fear is predictable. Courage is a decision. Action is the cure. That moment wasn't about being talented. That moment wasn't about how well I wrote. I'll go back and look at some of those blogs and cringe. Okay. It was about movement. It was about movement. And the competence and the confidence followed. Y'all hear me? Some folks saying, when I get more confident, I'll do it. No, the competence and the confidence followed. Hey, if you're enjoying what you're watching right now, do me a quick favor. I want you to hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss when we drop new content. Seriously, it means the world that you're here. Thanks for watching, and let's get back to it. So one of the things that I promised you guys I would do is I'm gonna give you some tactics, some strategies, and some principles on why what I'm saying is the direction you want to go. All right. I'm always going to start off with the tactics. Okay. Like, how do we make this tactical? Again, remember, fear is predictable. You know, one of the most amazing things about fear, and I really want you to start to get this. One of the most amazing things about fear is that it is predictable. And if you really want to know how to be successful, then really the idea is to lean into everywhere fear shows up. Everywhere fear shows up, that's likely what you're supposed to be doing. Now pray about it. Hey, but more than likely, everywhere fear shows up, that's likely the direction you should be leaning in. And that's the cool thing about the predictability of fear. Like, a lot of times what it does, it actually points out the path. Because if you're not afraid of it, then it's not gonna challenge you. It's not gonna take you to the next level. It's not gonna grow you. And so that's what I love about the predictability of fear. Like, oh, okay. It's showing up. Some of you all might remember back in 2019, I was like, I've shared this before, but in 2019, I'm like, I'm too comfortable. And so one of the things I was praying about is like, what's the next thing I'm supposed to be doing? What's the thing that's going to bring a new level of discomfort? And I was like dismayed because I wasn't getting an answer. All of 2019, I'm like, man, I don't have a goal that scares me. I'm too comfortable. And that at this point in my life, that's what scares me. Like when I'm too comfortable, right? And so I'm praying about this thing. I'm like, man. Comfortable. 2020 starts. It's starting off as an amazing year, right? And I'm like, I'm looking at my goals for 2020. What is it that I'm supposed to be doing? What is it that's going to make me uncomfortable? And this is in my prayers. Like what? I shouldn't be this comfortable. I shouldn't be this comfortable. I didn't know I was getting a break on purpose. You know what I'm saying? And some of you often heard me apologize for the pandemic. Cause I was like, well, hopefully my prayers didn't bring that on. Cause I was like, I need to be uncomfortable because God knows by the end of March, we all were very uncomfortable, right? But that's where I believe I thrive. That's where I thrive. I was listening to this pastor. He's got a call into men. And one of the things he talks about is that, like, as men, part of our calling is to actually do the things that are uncomfortable. That is what men do, right? That's what we do for our families. Like, we stand in the gap. My calling, my commitment as a man is to stand in the gap of discomfort for my family. I tell my son all the time, like, man, enjoy being a boy. Because when I make you uncomfortable on purpose, it's because I'm also preparing you for manhood. So enjoy being a boy. Last night he was with me. Dad, do we really have to make all these stops? Do we really have to do all these things? I said, look, man, I want to be at home in front of a screen with you. That's what I prefer to do. But this is what men have to do. We have to be out in the cold. We have to make everything happen, right? That's what we're doing. So enjoy the best you can, right? Dad, do I really have to go on Home Depot? Yes, you do, right? I'm teaching him how to be uncomfortable, how to stand in that gap. Okay. And by the way, sisters, that don't mean y'all don't got to be uncomfortable. You got your own line of discomfort as well. Let's see if we can get through the first part of the tactics. Number one, the thing that you know you're supposed to do, write it down. Like the thing that really scares you, write it down. And I'm going to give you a few ways to go about this, but write that thing down. All right. Here's what I know I'm supposed to do. This is what scares me. This is what scares me. Real quick, Ade, you don't got to tell anybody, but you know in your mind right now, the one thing that you know you probably should do, you're supposed to do, has been in the back of your mind that scares you. Anything come to mind? Yeah. Let me ask my technical producer. Like, do you know the one thing that you know you're supposed to do? It scares you. You haven't taken action on it yet, but it's in the back of your mind. You know that thing? Yeah. You don't got to tell us. You don't got to tell us, but you know that thing?
Yeah, every day. Every day.
It's talking to you every day. It's hitting you every day.
Yeah, failure. I hate failing. I don't want to fail at anything. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's competition, if it's work, like I just try not to put my personal stuff out there, but I haven't been back to school in 30 years. I actually started back city colleges.
Okay.
To go back to school to finish what I started.
Okay.
So the only reason why I'm able to do it now is because it's personal. Mm-hmm. It's not because I'm 18, 20 years old and you're supposed to go. Right. Now right. It's more personable.
Gotcha. But, all right. Now what I want you to do is I want you to pick the smallest step towards moving forward. Like, what is the one action that you can take that will move this thing forward? And just put that action in your mind. Put that action in your mind. Now, here's the next thing I want you to do, right? You got the action in your mind. So you know the thing that scares you, and you got the first action you know how to take. You got that action in your mind, like, okay, if I just do this, this gets me started. Okay. Now, I want you to identify 15 minutes this week where you're going to push it forward. Like 15 minutes this week. Like, put it on your calendar. If you're listening right now, pull up your calendar, right? The cool thing about the new iPhones is you can still have me talking while you pull up your calendar, right? Like, it's like, go ahead and pull up your calendar, and I want you to slot that 15 minutes in, tactically, right? And the idea of this 15 minutes is that you take action. Now, here's the thing about this action. It's going to be messy. That's okay, right? We're not going for perfect. We go for progress, right? It's going to be messy. It might even make you shake a bit. It might make you sweat a bit. Start anyway. Start anyway. All right? I want you to think of it like a take-two method. Take one, it's allowed to be ugly. It's allowed to be imperfect. It's allowed to be messy, okay? And take two is you didn't quit. You did it. Like, finish it. Whatever that action is, get it to completion. Because take two is when courage shows up. When you're like, you know what, I'm going to get all the way through the end. Let me get all the way through the end. For somebody, it might be shooting your first video, whatever it might be, right? And posting it, not just shooting it and leaving it in your phone. And posting it, doing the thing that you know you're called to do. And leaving it up. And seeing how it impacts other people. Because if you're called to do it, somebody needs it. All right? Here's tactic number 3. Whatever is pushing against you, it's a fear that you have to distinguish, right? So you want to defend. I'm afraid of looking stupid. The brother said failure, right? I'm afraid of failing in front of everybody. I'm afraid of rejection. Maybe you have a call to action. You're asking other people to do something. I'm afraid they're going to reject me. But what happens is when you name your fear, it shrinks it. Because then you can come back and say, but I'm afraid of looking stupid. But am I stupid? I'm not stupid. Right? I'm afraid of failing, but what Linnell said last week about failure and fear is that almost every time you take a fall, right? The law of polarity states that you got to swing back up. So why am I afraid to fall if I get up larger? Y'all get where I'm going? And just name whatever that is. Name whatever that is. Spent 13 years on the air. Mama D called out something that Jesse Jackson Jr. had this slot, right? I'm sorry, senior had this slot before I took it. I was on the air for 5 years on Saturday nights at 10 p.m. from 2013 to 2018. And I remember I got the phone call from Melody Span Cooper, and she said, hey, Reverend Jackson is stepping out of the 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. slot. And there's nobody else I can think of other than you. And I remember being like, why I got to have that slot? You know, I'm going like, why I got to take that? Like, you know, there ain't another slot. Why I got to have a Sunday morning slot? Number two, why I got to take Jesse Jackson's, you know, his former slot? Because I already knew the expectation. Again, more fear. And I could have been like, no, I'll just stay where I'm at. I could have said that. But we must do it afraid. We must do it afraid. I knew the spot wasn't about me. The spot was about the message. The spot was about my purpose. And that was 2018. Here we are, 2026, 8 years later. And I find it interesting that he passed away this week at that 8-year mark. And so definitely condolences to his family. And a special thanks to him for the impact that he made living out his purpose. This show would not be live video streamed if I didn't do it for the first time in 2016, afraid. I'm like, it's already crazy to talk to folks you can't see. Okay? You have no idea what they're thinking. But then I'm a video stream myself while I do it. And this is before it was a real big thing, you know, before podcasting with the mic and videotape and all that was a thing. But I got challenged. I mean, I was in D.C. speaking. A young lady came up to me afterwards and was like, I went on YouTube. I can't find anything out there. Why aren't you on YouTube with a message like this? And what I wanted to say is like, oh, no, that's scary. But, of course, as a man speaking to a woman, I can't say that. I was like, I just ain't got around to it. That was my answer. I ain't got around to it. And she challenged me right there and said, well, I tell you what, I'll shoot a video. I'm afraid I'll shoot a video this upcoming week and put it online if you'll shoot a video and put it online. This is in 2016, man. And she said, do you take my challenge? And I was trying to think of excuses why I couldn't. And I could feel the creator saying, hey, this ain't a mistake. So I take your challenge. And I took that. I took her challenge. And by the way, she's a pretty big time influencer now. She was scared to do it. Right. And I took her challenge and started streaming. And this is the reason why you can join live on Facebook. You can join live on YouTube. It used to be on Periscope back in the day, a long time ago. And let me tell you all something. Let me tell you all something about doing it afraid. I can remember streaming live on Periscope years ago. And I mean, and it still happens to this day. We do a better job of getting rid of the vultures. But you'll have people who come at you from the cheap sheets, right? They got whatever account they'll log in. And man, they used to hurl all kinds of insults. You know, I remember on Saturday night, I'd be talking and, you know, people come on there and they'd be like, this is great. This is wonderful. And then somebody else would be like, you know, man, you look like this or you look like that. And who you think you are and blah, blah, blah. And just speaking into all of that because I knew what I was doing was the right thing. And it's funny because my sons asked me, he says, hey, Dad, has anyone ever sent you a bad note because they didn't like what you said on the radio? And I was like, all the time. All the time. And he's like, you don't get mad? And I'm like, man, look, I've gotten to a point where it doesn't even sit or settle. And often if I know the creator is giving me something and it's what I'm supposed to say, I know there's going to be a sufficient amount of resistance. And it's part of how I know I'm speaking in the right place. I'm like hitting the right things. And so I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to be able to pursue my purpose in this way. So here's the thing about fear, right? Fear doesn't show up after you grow. So case in point, 2013, I did my first radio show. And I can remember a time where I'd be like, why is nobody calling? I needed somebody to call so I could think of the next thing to say, right? I'm like, I need somebody to call. My technical producer could see me struggling. This is my very first show. And so he called, right? So he could give me that, that reprieve I needed. And I'm sharing that because fear doesn't show up after you grow. Fear shows up right before you grow. Now, we walk in, we set up. I'm not afraid. I'm not uncomfortable. Any of those things, right? The growth is taking place in this platform. Where the creator's taking me next, there might be fear, right? One of the things I've seen, I haven't said this outside, but like a television show. Like, how do we take this and syndicate it not just on radio, but also on television and really push this message, right? And so it's like, okay, then I might be afraid, when cameras rolling and things like that. And guess what? I will invite the fear. Why? Because fear shows up right before you grow. Fear doesn't show up after you grow. And that's the beautiful thing about it is your fear is temporary. That's strategy number one. Strategy number two is practice choosing movement over mood. What do I mean by that? You're not going to consistently feel brave, right? You're not going to always want to lean in. And so part of the idea is that you create a system of taking action in the face of fear, even when you don't want to. The system that's why in 2019, I was like, wait a second, I'm not uncomfortable because I've created a system of taking action in the face of fear. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Some of you all heard the story about when my pipe burst in the building, late January. Man, I walked in and it's rain. It was like raining inside my building, right? One of these properties. Raining in the basement, raining on the first floor, tenants. I'm like, oh, man, like, it's like, I don't know what to do. I'm afraid. I'm afraid. And I said, okay, Linnell, what's the first step, right? Because I've put myself in situations where I'm afraid. What do you do when you're afraid? You take action. What's the first step? You got to stop this water. You need a plumber, right? Make the phone call, started calling 24-hour plumbing services because it's a Sunday night. What's the first step? Okay. What's the second step? Well, there's a lot of damage here in this water. And so if you can start a restoration process right now, you should start it, right? I'm going to trust that all this is insured. Call the restoration company. You get where I'm going? Start taking action. Start taking action. When I look back on that evening, man, am I happy I did that. The first thing the insurance company asked for was the plumbing invoice. Right? Who's the restoration company? Did you call them? Do you have the pipes that burst? Right? Do you have those? The first thing they started asking for, take action. Action is what supports any insurance that you have. All right. Strategy number three. Strategy number three. Most of the time, part of what scares us is when we cast a vision and the vision is so big you can't see yourself in it. Because, like, I'm not that person I see. I'm not that person. Let me give you an example of what I mean. After I distinguished my purpose in my early 20s with the support of a phenomenal mentor, one of the things I saw was that I would be speaking to people, and not just a few people, but thousands, right? And I was like, that was more than I could take, because at the time I wasn't a great communicator. And I've shared those stories with you all. Like, even, early on in corporate America, it could be a meeting of 4 or 5 people. And if they're like, Linnell, what do you think? I'd be like, yeah. I would have a hard time articulating my thoughts, right? So to then cast a vision that basically said, hey, you're going to be teaching thousands of people, I'm like, that's beyond me. Like, that feels beyond me right now in this moment. How am I going to do that? And so what will happen is we'll freeze, because the person I am right now can't fulfill on this vision. And so strategy 3, you want to shrink the stakes. Okay. What do I mean by that? There's only one action to take. You only can take one action at a time. And so if I'm going to speak to thousands of people, what's the one action I can take right now that moves me towards that? Well, I don't know how to speak in front of 5. You get where I'm going? I don't know how to communicate effectively in front of 5. Let me perfect that. Let me begin to work on my communication in small groups. And so that's the action I took. I really started working on my ability to communicate in small groups. Some of you all have heard the story where I would come home at night and I would watch the evening news and repeat everything they said to really begin to train my tongue and my diction. I did not always speak like this in a group, right? In a large group. I didn't always speak like this. And so I began to train my tongue. And I even said sometimes you could hear me slip up here and there, because it was a strength I had to develop to deliver on the vision. On my vision board, I had a picture of a mic. And then out there was like all these people, right? And the people were kind of blurred out, but the mic was in focus. And I put that on my vision board. And I said, well, if this is where I'm supposed to go, then I'm going to look at this, right? And that picture is still on my vision board to this day, right? With the mic, because it doesn't change. Like, I haven't been called to do anything different. It hasn't changed, right? I'm supposed to speak to people, speak in a way the message is amplified to large groups of people. But when that vision was distinguished, I did not have the skill. I did not have the talents. And so I had to shrink it down to what is the thing that I'm supposed to do, right? Let me learn how to speak in front of people, all right? Those are the 3 strategies I want you to take in terms of overcoming your fears, because that's how those fears will show up. Purpose is so important. This is why the purpose course is so important. When you gain clarity on the promise of purpose, it'll make you do radical things. People thought I was crazy when I walked out of corporate America in 2015. How could this guy ever make what he is making here, doing this coaching thing? And you want to know what? I wasn't clear on how either. But it's not about the how. It's about clarity of the vision. I saw very clearly what I was supposed to be doing. And so I went off to go do those things. 10 years later, it makes me shudder to think if fear had locked me down, I wouldn't be where I am. I've been called to do something. And if that is the reason for my being, then I must do it. But that is the power, clarity, and purpose. And if you're not living with that type of clarity, then you have to be at the Discovering Live Your Life's Purpose workshop on January 31st. You can go to LinnellHarris.com and join there.
I have it specifically here in my notes. December 4th, 2022, you talked about how to set a vision.
Okay.
And the 3 things that are needed were visualize. The first thing was visualize. The second thing was feel it. The third thing was embrace it. And we have notes about every one of those. You have been an anchor in my life on how to take the first step and keep going after that. I've been a Slay Your Goals member at one point in time. And with those strategies that you gave me, I do feel like I'm a better person.
Wonderful.
You also talked about an author, I forgot his name, Max or something like that.
Dr. Maxwell. Maxwell Maltz, I believe. Yeah.
Maxwell Maltz. And I just wanted to read one thing that he said that I will never forget.
Okay.
And that says, the precise action steps will come to you without stress, tension, or worry about how you're going to accomplish the result you seek. Many people make the mistake of interfering with their success mechanism by demanding a how before the vision and goal that is clearly established. After you've formed a mental image of the vision and the goal you seek to create, the how will come to you, not before. Remain calm and the answer will arise. Any attempt to force the ideas to come will not work. So I want to thank you for giving me that power to go forth with my vision.
You're welcome. You're welcome. That's awesome. Thanks so much, Jerry, for the phone call.
You're welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. And vision is the first step always. Like vision is the first step. For any skill we're going to take in our lives, vision has to come first. You have to be able to see it in your mind's eye. I love that. That was the first thing that you got. And I can only imagine what is done for you. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that phone call. Vision. Like vision is the first step. If you can't see it, if you can't see it, then you're in trouble. You got to be able to see it. And it's okay if what you see scares you. It typically means that you're looking at the right stuff. And everything we're talking about today is then how to overcome that. 13 years ago, I was sitting over there on 87th Street sweating. Sweating and staring at the clock too. Like, man, that show couldn't go fast enough. I felt like the time was just creeping by. They give me a commercial break. I'd be like, whew, okay, what am I going to say? I had the entire show scripted. I had written out the entire show. And let me tell you how fear works and how, like, when you're challenged with something, how it works. It was a 60-minute show. And so I was like, okay, I'll have, like 8 to 10 minutes at the beginning of commercials. And then they'll play another commercial at that, kind of like that 25-minute mark or so. I'll come back for a few minutes, probably about 33 past the hour. They'll play another commercial, right? I had it down, bro. They'll play another commercial, and then I'll have a few more minutes all the way to about 10 to the hour. And then they'll play another commercial, and then I can close the show out. So I scripted the show where I could read that long, and I practiced it. It was my very first show. When I tell you I was scared, I was scared. So I had to be prepared, right? And so I'm sitting there. They start, and I'm just like, okay, welcome. This is Linnell Harris. It's Inspirational Perspective. I mean, it was all blocked up. If I can pull that recording, I got the recording. I might play it at some point, right, to play, how it. But so I got through the intro. I'm sweating already because I didn't do the intro right. That's not how I wrote it. What's going on here? And then I'm reading my script because y'all can't see me at this point. I'm not, so you don't, and I'm reading my script, man. And I run out of things to say. Nobody's calling in. I'm begging. Please call 773-591-1690. Tell me what you think about what I'm sharing with you, right? So I'm saying that I'm reading my script, and I get to that 25-minute mark. But I'm about 18 minutes into the show, and I got 7 minutes left, and I've read everything to that point. I got 7 minutes left. I done read faster than I thought, right? So I'm like, man, do I ad-lib or do I go to past the next break? Because I don't know what to say. So I'm like, okay. And I'm sweating, man. I'm, because I got thousands of people listening to me, and this is my first show ever. And so I say, well, I got to keep talking. So I go to the next break. Now, here's what I didn't tell you. Part of the reason that I was so in front of the script is because they started the show early because there was a Chicago State basketball game. So Salim didn't come on, so I had to go into the studio 30 minutes early. I wasn't prepared for that. First show. Hey, Linnell, can you get in here a little earlier and start your show early? What? My first show? Early? I'm not prepared for that. Man. Fear. Woo. Man. But here I am. I survived it. I survived it. Okay, let's talk some principles. Hey man, I survived it. I tell you, when I was driving home, I had to come out that T-shirt and just put the shirt on top on. Otherwise, it was cold outside. I would have got sick. That's how much I sweated out that shirt. And when I was driving home, I was thinking like, man, I don't know. I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't have that much to say. Now we're doing series. Man, God is good. Okay, principles. All right, so why would I say, I want to back everything I say with the principle. So why would I say that you should take action in the face of a fear? Why would I say, if you're afraid, get in motion? Why would I say that? Well, the first principle I want to share with you that addresses this is the law of momentum. Okay? The law of momentum states that motion creates more motion, right? So, and if you really want to get technical, the law of momentum is pulled from the law of conservation of momentum, okay? And the law of conservation of momentum states that the total linear momentum of an isolated system where no external forces act remains constant over time, regardless of interaction within the system. So what does that mean? What that means is if I actually put something in motion, right, it becomes easier to keep it in motion. But if something's not in motion, right, and this is where it's saying where no external forces act remains constant over time, if nothing external pushes it, then it will stay where it is. If you allow fear to freeze you and you don't push yourself out of fear, then the law of momentum says that nothing will ever happen. My biggest fear for anybody listening right now is that the culture that we live in, the comfort culture, has created a system where you really don't have to have much momentum. You don't have to have much momentum. And so I can sit, and when I get compelled to move, right, that compelling for me to move can be drowned out by comfort and entertainment. And because in order for me to get into motion, it requires an external force, right? It requires something outside of me. That's why most of the time, most hardcore action requires some level of prayer and faith and belief. The external force that's hitting it is faith. What is faith? Belief plus action, right? So a deep belief. And maybe next week we'll talk about the composition of belief. But if you want a preview, I put it in a reel on Instagram and TikTok. And it's on, I believe it's on my Facebook page. But so, like, you got to believe and you have to take action. The external force has to hit whatever it is that you need to move. Now, here's the beautiful part. The principle states, the law of momentum states, that once you put it in motion, it's easier to speed it up now. Right? That first part is the hardest part. The first part is the hardest part. And the law of momentum also states that starting is the force multiplier. Right? Some of the brothers listening to me, you've had to push a car. Right? You ever push a car before? Okay. You all know that getting the car to move, that first is the hardest part. That's the hardest part. But once you get the car moving, now you're jogging, you're moving. Like it's going now, right? And the hardest thing is going to be to try to stop it if you don't have brakes, right? Because it's in motion now, right? So the brother jumps in, whoever's by the driver's door, they run and they pushing, then they jump in, they start to steer. Y'all behind. Now you can just move it all down the street. Move it on down the street, right? And you don't need as much force anymore. Now you can just boom, boom, just kind of push it, keep it going. It's the same way in life. The thing that you're afraid of, the thing that you're afraid to do, it's going to be the hardest action is going to be the first action. Now, I've used this secret in my life, right? This is why I told you to set the 15-minute for the action earlier, because now that you have the 15 minutes, if you hold to that 15 minutes, right? If you hold to that 15 minutes and you take the action, now it's going to be much easier for you just to push. It's rolling. And the thing that scared you and froze you before, now it's in motion. Now it's in motion. Starting is the force multiplier. So another way to think about this is that comfort is inertia, right? And I want to be very, very clear when I kind of walk through this principle to make sure that we all understand what inertia is. So what is inertia? Inertia is the natural tendency of an object to resist change. Right? The natural tendency of an object to resist changes in its current state. So if I'm currently sedimentary, right? There's inertia is the natural tendency for me to resist any change of movement. If I'm not moving in my life right now, I'm going to resist any movement. I'm going to resist any. Matter of fact, there are a lot of folks who might have heard this, and the resistance was just like, let me shut that off. I don't want to move. I don't want to move. And so what happens is, this is what inertia means. Something that's remaining at rest will continue to remain at rest unless it's acted upon by an external force. Okay? Something that is in motion, I want you to hear this. Something that is in motion will continue to stay in motion unless acted on by external force. So if I'm in motion in my life, like, I got to keep moving. Now you guys see why I'm like, wait, I'm not uncomfortable. I want to keep moving in this. Okay? So that's what inertia means. So then if we go back to the law of momentum, comfort is inertia, right? It's the thing that, like, when I'm comfortable, I don't want to move. Action interrupts inertia. I can guarantee you, if you've been called to do something and you start to take action on that, your interest in that action will supersede the other things that used to satisfy you. If you think I'm weird because it's like, yeah, I don't really want to get into all these different series and all these different things, it's because the action that I'm taking is more attractive to me than standing still. So action interrupts inertia. And once you move, you're no longer negotiating with fear, right? All of a sudden, you're building evidence for why you're making the right decisions. That's principle number one, the law of momentum. Now, so hopefully that's now you're starting to understand where I say, like, so because today's show is Do It Afraid, why comfort is costing you your future, why inertia is costing you your future, why inaction is costing you your future. Principle number two. And by the way, if you got a question about this, the law of momentum, this principle, motion creates more motion, then give me a phone call, 773-591-1690. Again, celebrating 13 years on the radio. And if there's a show that made a difference for you, or even the year you started listening, give me a phone call. Let me know. 773-591-1690. All right. All right. So principle number two. The law of cause and effect. I like this one. The law of cause and effect. Outcomes, listen to this one, right? Outcomes follow action, not intentions. A lot of us have intentions, man. Like, we have a lot of intentions. I intend to do this. I intend to do that. I want to do this. I see myself here. You know, I believe I can believe I can do this. I can do that. This, like, okay, whatever. Outcomes follow action, not intentions. And the reason why there's so much fear to take the first action is because if there's no fear, if there's nothing to break, right, then that means there's no consequence. But because there is something to break, fear has to be there. It's a principle. Like, there has to be some level of resistance in front of anything that's going to have a powerful impact. And by the way, there is always the equal amount of resistance to starting for whatever the impact's going to be. You got to remember that, right? It's something I teach in Slay Your Goals at length, that we lean into resistance. We don't lean away. We lean into the resistance. And so outcomes follow actions, not intentions. Outcomes follow actions, not intentions. Okay? You can't think your way into courage. Let me say that again, okay? You cannot think your way into courage. Courage is built by doing. You have to do it. You have to do it afraid to be courageous, right? Nobody honors a soldier who has all the gear and all the ammunition and all the weapons saying, yeah, man, I got this. They're sitting down, though, right? The rifle's on their back. They got everything on. I'm ready. I'm ready. And then when the action comes, they don't get up. Nobody respects that guy, right? He gets in the corner and he's shaking, afraid. Nobody respects you. Okay, you could be ready all you want. It's the guy that only has the little pistol. If he runs out there, that's the courageous one. That's the one with the courage. I firmly believe that in the symbolic sense, some of us have spent so much time collecting ammo and weapons, but we're still afraid of the action. We still won't run out. We still won't run into the fray. You're well armed at this point. You have all the weapons you need. You've been taught everything you need to know. When will you take action? When will you take action? The definition of that is cowardice. And do you really want to go to the grave knowing nobody else will know? Because the Creator doesn't talk to everybody else. He doesn't tell everybody else what you're supposed to do. But you'll know. I believe one of the major reasons people have regrets on their deathbeds is because inside they knew they'd been a coward. There were things I was supposed to do. There were actions I was supposed to take, and I left them on the table. I did not live my life to the fullest. I allowed fear to freeze me and reduce me to a coward. And it's a tough thing to be with. It's a tough thing to be with, but hey, this is just, if I can't do anything but tell you the truth. So the law of cause and effect, outcomes follow actions, not intentions. Okay. Let's get a little bit more technical, then I'm going to take these phone calls. The law of cause and effect states that every action, every thought, every event produces a specific corresponding result and effect. Nothing happens by chance. It is a fundamental principle. This is a fundamental scientific principle, right? Because it's a fundamental scientific principle that cannot be any other way. You have to think of it as a principle the Creator put in place. One of God's laws. It dictates that for every effect, there was some direct cause. Now, my question to you is, what were you created to cause? And are you being at cause? Are you delivering on that purpose? Because you were created to cause something and have an effect. You were created to have an effect. Are you having that effect? Are you the cause that is having that effect? I hope that today's, I piled on a bit from last week in terms of fear. And I really do pray and hope that this made a difference. Comfort is costing you compound interest on your potential. Like compound interest. Again, what if I decided, no, that's uncomfortable, I'm not going to do it? Where would I be now? And the cause that I was called to be would not be in effect for many of you in terms of what you shared today. I didn't ask you to share that for me. I asked you to share that for the person listening, right? So they know, like, if I hadn't taken that action, I would have been leaving something on the table. Confidence is not the entrance fee. It's the receipt. Some of us, well, I'm not confident enough. Get into action and confidence will be your receipt. Your comfort zone is a barren place. Nothing grows there. Okay? Remember that. Your comfort zone is a barren place where nothing grows. Fear is a liar with a megaphone, and it's telling you not to move. Stay comfortable in this barren place where nothing grows. And so what you don't need is more time. What you need is a decision to take action. And by when will you take the action? And you may be scared. Your hands may be shaking. But whatever you do, don't stop. Thank you for watching Inspirational Perspective. If you love this show and you want to see more content like this, you can go right here. And if you like this subject and you want to see much more content that we have available for you, just click the button here. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to watch the show live, 7 a.m. every Sunday morning on WBON Radio, or you can catch it right here on YouTube or Facebook.com/Coach Linnell Harris. Be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so we can get more content just like this to you.